Okay, so this is a video of how I lano my wool. First thing I do is I boil some water in the tea kettle because that way I know what temperature it is. If you do it in the microwave, it might come out a different temperature each time since it heats unevenly. So you get a small bowl and you get your lanolin. This is Now brand solid Lano. When you open it up, it's solid. It's not like liquid Lano like you use for your nipples sometimes. Some people use that, but I don't know. This is the way I learned to do it. And then you need either emulsifying cubes. These are Be Green Natural emulsifying cubes. I think they work a little bit better. These are Sloom emulsifying cubes. They have Lano in them. Sometimes people will just melt this in a little hot water and use that as a very light Lano on their wool for like the pants and stuff. It really doesn't work well like that for the covers and stuff. So I'm gonna start by pouring some of the water from the tea kettle into the bowl. Not too much. And then I'm only Lanoing one cover, so I'm gonna use 1 teaspoon of the lanolin. Stick that in there. And I'm going to use the BGN cubes because I think they work a little bit better. Get a nicer, smoother Lano bath. So while I'm trying to show you how to do it, I might as well use the one that works the best. So now your water looks like this. And you're going to mix it. And with the BGN cube, it actually doesn't take as long as with the Sloom cube, so that's why I like to use that one. But this takes a while. It could take like 5 minutes or so I shall speed it up. So you want to keep mixing until your Lano looks like whole milk. It's starting to look pretty milky right now, but if I stop stirring, it'll probably end up with a little layer of Lano on top. So I'm going to keep mixing, and then sometimes I'll have to use another cube or another little piece of Sloom cube or even some wool wash. If you don't have emulsifying cubes, you can use wool wash. It works just as well. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the way this looks right now. It's not perfect, and sometimes it can get a little more opaque than this, but our water's weird and sometimes it doesn't do what it's exactly supposed to, but really as long as there's no floating yellow on top, you will still successfully Lano your wool. After you have your Lano bath prepared, I like to do that first because it takes a little while and you don't want the temperature of the water when you're washing the wool to change too much between washing, rinsing, and Lanoing because that can cause felting. So I always do the Lano bath first and then I come over here to wash the wool. I use Ecover, Delicate. There's a ton of different brands you can use. I just like this one because it's cheap and I can buy it at Stop and Shop. And so all you need is a basin. I like to do it in the sink because then the water's right here, ready to go. And here's my wool that needs to be washed. The first thing I'm going to do is turn these inside out. Since the inside is the part that gets peed on the most, that's the part that I really want to be in contact with the water and the wool wash. So I'm going to put some water in the bowl. You want it to be like baby bath water temperature. It honestly doesn't matter too much if it's a little too warm or too cold, as long as the temperature is the same from washing to rinsing to Lanoing. And if it's not, that's how you get felting. Which actually some people prefer because it's a better barrier, but with Sloom knits, you have a better resale value and they stay stretchier if they don't have felting. So now I'm going to put just a splash of Ecover in here. It works pretty well so you don't have to use too much. And just swish it around. Maybe add a little more water. Alright. And then I'm going to put the wool in. Now when you're washing the wool, you really don't want to wring it, because wringing it like you do like this, twisting, that's what causes the fibers to kind of felt together, grab a hold of each other, and cause felting. But
You don't have to be too gentle with it when it's in here. You can, you know, just squeeze it out like this because you really want to get it clean. Obviously, that's the point. So you just squeeze it. And then I let it soak in here for 5 minutes or so, just to get the wool wash really in there and to get all the gross stuff out.
So the cover's been sitting in here for 5 minutes or so. Now I'm going to take it out. Just let the extra water drip out a little bit. And I'm going to put it here on this towel so it doesn't get the counter all gross. Dump out the soap. And then when you're filling up the rinse water, you really want to make sure that it's the same temperature as the wool. Again, otherwise it can cause felting. So, sorry, I'm not keeping this camera straight. And Tiny's helping. So now I'm just going to put the wool in here, do the same thing, squeeze it a little bit, let it soak, do its thing, and then I'll come back in about 5 minutes. So now the wool is done rinsing. I'm going to take it out. Some people run it under the water afterwards before they lano. I like to prevent felting as much as possible, so I don't do that because felting can come from the wool being wet and then agitation. So I try to avoid it. So I'm going to dump out the wash. And then I'm going to add some pretty warm water because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Lano bath in here that I made already, and I'm going to put it in with the warm water, and I want to bring it eventually to the temperature of the wool that the wool is now. If you start out with cold water in here, then the Lano will float to the top, so you don't want to shock the Lano. You want to start out with kind of pretty warm water and then slowly add in cooler water. Other people do different things. Some people add ice cubes. I'm not really sure how that works, but I know that you can do it with ice cubes too to make sure that the temperature of the Lano is not too hot before you put your wool in. So coming back to my Lano, this is what you don't want to happen. And I was doing it pretty quickly, so I probably either need to stir it some more or add another cube. But as you can see, there's floating yellow on top. And if I put this right in the Lano bath right away, there'll be Lano floating on top and not as much in the water to get into the wool and successfully Lano the wool. So I'm going to mix this up a little more. It's still pretty warm, so I have a feeling it'll be fine. I added another cube to it too, so hopefully that will do the trick. But it looks pretty good, to be honest. So I'm going to now bring it over here and add it to the warm water in the bowl. And I'm going to slowly turn the temperature a little bit cooler because you don't want the Lano bath to be much warmer than the wool is, which has now been sitting here, so you actually have to feel the wool and make sure that it hasn't cooled down too much. And if it has, then obviously you just make the Lano bath a little cooler. So this feels pretty good. Sorry, my phone keeps running out of space. So now the wool is soaking in here, and I'm going to show you how to roll out the water, but not with this cover because we use this for overnight, so it's going to sit in here for a while. I usually let the overnight covers sit overnight, and everything else sits for about an hour or two. Alright, so I basically just lay a towel on the floor and put the wool down, and then fold the towel back over top of it like this. And then I'm going to start down here and just roll it up like this. And this helps to gently get the water out of the wool without squeezing it and wringing it out, because again, that will cause felting. So now I'll just bring it to the drying rack and hang it out to dry, and that's it.